Final Fantasy XIV is a baby game for babies, and I'm gonna prove it to you. If you're a Chad like me, you can't stand baby games. So today, I'm gonna be giving you some reasons why Final Fantasy XIV is a dead easy game. In fact, the game is so easy, a baby could play it, because it's a baby game for babies. Just a quick little disclaimer here, my videos are very, very serious. This was actually supposed to be a Final Fantasy XIV subreddit shitpost, but it was so powerful, it got auto-modded and never actually made it onto the shitpost subreddit. So here we go. Now let's talk about the first thing on my list here, and that is buttons. What makes a baby game versus a real game? And the first thing that comes to mind is how many buttons there are to press. And as you know, Final Fantasy XIV is a game that doesn't have a whole lot of buttons. Now let's compare it to a more mainstream game that has a lot of buttons and requires a little bit more skill. Overwatch. Look at all those buttons you got on the screen. It's overwhelming. Look how much stuff you gotta learn. There's so many buttons. You might say, but Spooky, look at my Final Fantasy XIV UI. My screen is literally covered in buttons. But you see, in an FPS game, every pixel on the screen can be pressed like a button. So in an FPS, you gotta know which one to press. You gotta be fast. Yeah, whatever, you have 20 different spells they use in a Savage Raid. Baby game. In an FPS, if your resolution is insanely high, that could mean you have thousands of buttons to press. Sound logic. But Spooky, what about knowing your rotation to deal damage to enemies? There are AoE rotations and there's single target rotations. You gotta know which one to do properly to maximize your DPS. How on earth do you expect us Final Fantasy XIV players to call ourselves baby gamers when those FPS players don't even know what a rotation is? Now hold on just a second, you dummy idiot clown. World of Warcraft, ever heard of it? That's a real game, not for babies. And in that game, you gotta know your rotation. It gets tough. For example, if you main a Warlock in World of Warcraft, if you're doing a raid in Classic, your most optimal damage rotation is spam Shadow Bolt. So dude, in Final Fantasy XIV, I can just play a ninja, face roll on my keyboard, and get better parses than the average Warlock in World of Warcraft. Alright, so now I want to talk about the player base. Just the thought of them makes me sick. Have you ever been in a dungeon and not known the mechanics and wiped because of it? First of all, get good. Second of all, the player base won't even chew you out for it. Yeah, dude, usually they'll say things like, well, it appears we have wiped, I guess I should explain his mechanics. Or perhaps they'll say, hey gamer, it appears you've messed up. Here's what we have to do in order to win. And they treat you with absolute kindness. What kind of a game has a nice player base? Only a baby game. Explaining the mechanics when you need it? What is this, Chuck E. Cheese? No, if there's a wipe in the group, I expect everyone to just dogpile and treat that person like shit. That's what you sickos are into anyway these days. And you know, maybe there are still times when the players are actually rude to you. We've all heard it. Have you heard the term, you pull, you tank? Well, guess what, buddy? I'm a healer main. And if I roll Scholar, I will tank. Don't threaten me with a good time. There was a whole controversy a couple months ago with this. We all know it's possible. And you know what? Final Fantasy XIV has won a Best Community Award a couple years in a row. And then it loses to Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's a nice gate. It's a nice gate over at Baldur 3 times. But it's hardly even an online game. Best Community Award? I mean, I've played with my friends a number of times, but it's hardly an online game. And yeah, dude, I get it. They're my friends, they're forced to be nice to me, so yeah, I mean, with that logic, of course I want best community, because I already know these people. I grew up with them. They have to be nice to me. It's not like I'm even playing this game with randos online. So tell me, how is a game that's optionally online winning a Best Community Award over Final Fantasy XIV? Which is only online, by the way. Sounds like baby game material to me. And do not get me even started on mentors, dude. Have you ever been grouped with a mentor? You probably have. Originally, I thought mentors were gonna be good players. I thought they're gonna be all-knowing gods. I thought they're gonna know what they were talking about. But actually, they don't know shit. Literally, I feel like every time I get grouped up with a mentor, they don't even know the fights. The average Sprout seems to know the fights just as well as the mentors. Mentors are just players who want to wear that Burger King crown next to their name so they feel powerful and meaningful. Getting 1500 player combinations takes time. Yeah, sure, it takes time. But guess what? I'm a Sprout and I already have over 1500 combinations, so... So get good, mentors, get good. Wait a second. Final Fantasy XIV has a story mode? What kind of a baby game has a story mode? Games that have stories are for babies. Banjo-Kazooie, baby game. Legend of Zelda, any of them, baby games. Halo? Halo's alright. But the others, baby games. Real video games have no story. There's no story mode. There's no story mode in real video games. And let me give you some examples. Tarkov, Overwatch, Dota 2, DayZ. These games require real skill to play and have no story. They don't need a story. Overwatch 2 almost released a story mode, which wouldn't have been a huge mistake. And Blizzard backed out last second because they knew that it would make their game a baby game. But alas, the small indie company Blizzard made the right choice by removing the story last second. And this made it storyless. And thank God, we don't need a PvE story mode. More indie companies should follow suit like Blizzard. And now, I hear what you're saying. Spooky, there could probably be a few exceptions to this rule. None of these games come to mind, but, you know, maybe if a game contains where they kill off many of your favorite characters, especially characters who just want to make you hot chocolate and make you feel welcomed in an unknown land. Perhaps they die, trying to save you, trying to save your friends. Final Fantasy XIV doesn't even have mods? It's kind of cringe. And Yoshi P has made it clear that mods are highly illegal. Now, in my opinion, every great game has a good set of mods. They enhance the gameplay experience. They can give you a fresh perspective, a new way to play the game. Are you really even playing a fantasy game if a flock of Thomas the Tank Engines isn't burning down your city? I don't think so. Yoshi P has even gone as far to say that Excel is technically a third-party tool, and it should not be used. Dang Excel users, ban them all, ban them all. And in some games, mods are even required to play a majority of the content. Let's take WoW for example again. Want to do some of the hardest content? Bare minimum, you're gonna need the following mods. Weak Aura, Deadly Boss mods, Tiny Threat, Details. Imagine playing the game that you have to beg to spoon feed it information to you, and it tells you what to do next in a fight. Final Fantasy XIV would never allow this nonsense. And honestly, if players do use it in Final Fantasy XIV, they should be banned. Baby games don't tell you what's coming next. You need to learn through trial and error, like a real baby, discovering the world for yourself. In Final Fantasy XIV, you're forced to participate in all the mechanics without using mods. And in Savage, sometimes if you mess up one mechanic, the whole group will wipe. But baby game, am I right? Wait, this game was glamour? You're telling me that the actual endgame isn't raiding, it's glamour? Alright. You know Final Fantasy XIV is a baby game if the endgame is about creating outfits. Do you really think I'm gonna pay 1 million gil for a pajama shirt? Yeah, actually that one's pretty sick. Now let's play a quick game of Spot the Better PvPer. One player, this player over here is wearing the Fierce Tyrant set you get from the PvP Fortnite Battle Pass in Final Fantasy XIV by getting to level 25. Or this player wearing only underwear. Which one do you think is better? Yeah, that's right, you guessed it. The player who's pretty much naked. This naked player has put so many hours in the game, they have every piece of good glamour set that you could ever imagine. They have so many glamour sets, they have actually transcended the need for glamour. This is true endgame content. Don't judge a War of Light by how long it took to unlock the gear, but rather by how many gear sets they have, and yet they still choose to wear nothing. It is true enlightenment, true freedom. But even though they have spent so many hours in game, they are still a baby gamer. Okay, wait, this game is housing too? What is this, some kind of Barbie simulator? First glamour, and now you can decorate your house? This is just the icing on the cake for 14 being a baby game. This basically just turns Final Fantasy XIV into The Sims. I guess the only thing you can't do in this game is make babies. Actually scratch that. ERPers already kind of do that. I mean, decorating houses, that's pretty sick. This game's got a lot of buttons. It's got a great community. This isn't a baby game at all. All right, you guys, it's not a baby game. I'm sick of people saying it's a baby game. It's not a baby game, it's for real gamers. Final Fantasy XIV is for real gamers. Savage raids, they take a long time to learn. It can take weeks to months for a group to clear a Savage or an Ultimate. This video was supposed to be funny, so if you didn't think it was funny, that's because my writing was shit. Alright, like, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitch. See you guys in the next one. Peace.